Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. I am your host, Susan. I'm here with Ed, Jen, Julie, and Dave. And we are here today to read a middle grade story titled Casey Buckles and the Keeper of the Ice Caves. This writer is from Idaho, correct? Correct. And I'll just read a quick summary and then Julie will read the story for us. But I want to make it very clear that this is an excerpt from the middle of the story. So sometimes of the novel, sorry. So sometimes in terms of giving our opinion, a little bit of it can be tough because we have, for various reasons, we don't necessarily know if we'll go into it more, but
what precedes this?
What precedes it. So when we're trying to judge something or give critique, that comes into play a little bit, and we'll try to point that out while we're doing the critique. So this story, Casey Buckles is thrown into a dangerous adventure when he's trapped within the ice caves. He must complete 3 challenges based on the 3 elements of water to save the keeper, a Scottish prince magically encased within the cave rock, only his face an animated stone version of himself.
Casey clambered to his feet. Who's there? He flicked his flashlight from wall to wall. A glimmer of white at the back of the cave bounced off a group of protruding rocks. Casey focused his light. The rocks took on a shape, the edge of a forehead, the bridge of a nose, the bone of a cheek, the curve of a chin. You. Casey pointed his light directly on a face on the wall. The face crinkled into a smile and a sprinkle of grit fell to the ground. All right, and it'd be Mr. Casey McBuckles before Ma. Torches on either side of the head instantly ignited, revealing a ruggedly chiseled face within the stone wall. Casey jumped back. No way. I'm imagining this. I must be. No. My name is just Casey Buckles. No Mac. Is this rock face really talking to me? Casey wanted to check out Felix and Ellie's expressions, but he couldn't tear his stare away from the live sculpture. Aye, but you're mistaken, mucker. The eyes of the face seemed to soften inside their rocky sockets. Your ilk is the McBuckles clan are frae Scotland. Casey shifted from one foot to the other. It was difficult for him to understand the words that spoke out of the rock, of the face, He stole a look at Felix and Ellie. Did they see him? He could tell by their slack-jawed expressions. They did. Casey turned back to the face. What's a mucker? Aye, a mucker be a friend, the face said. What's an ilk? An ilk be a family. And frae? That means from. Casey pieced the words together. My family is the McBuckles clan from Scotland? Aye. Man, I don't know anything about a McBuckles clan. Why would you think that? I have been waiting for your arrival, of course. The face drew its eyebrows in. What's happening here? This must be a trick, Casey thought. An optical illusion, that's it. Excuse me, sir. Ellie stepped forward. My name is Ellie. Are you the keeper of the ice caves? The face chuckled. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance, Miss Ellie. I'm Prince Regan, son of the King of Shoshone and his quidwife, Queen Rebecca. However, over the decades, I've become known as the Keeper. I knew you were real, Ellie said. Man, Casey paused. Can't believe the Keeper is real. Hi, I'm Felix. Felix put out his hands, but quickly shoved it into his pocket, apparently realizing the face didn't have any hands. All right. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Felix, Regan nodded, sending a small shower of pebbles and dust cascading down his face. So you've been here for decades? Felix asked. Regan glanced up toward the ceiling of the cave, the whites of his eyes illuminated. Let us think. Aye, it be 100 years. Ain, Casey said. Aye, 100, Regan said. Casey did a double take at Regan. 100 years? Why do you look so young? All in good time, mucker. You will learn much about me and me ilk. Only if I could understand what you're saying, Casey thought. Do you get to see your family, since being stuck in the rock, he asked. Nay, no. Grains of sand formed in the corners of Regan's eyes. He shook his head, the sand slid down his cheeks. That's awful, Casey said. A sudden snapping sound came from the entrance of the cave. Must be another storm coming, he thought. Prince Regan? How'd you get trapped in the rock? Ellie asked. Regan furrowed his rocky eyebrows. The crevices in his forehead deepened like the trenches of a dry riverbed. Aye. I suppose this be a good time as any to explain the order of events that led to me entrapment. Please, won't you take a seat? He nodded toward the ground. They sat on the dusty floor of the cave. Felix flipped to a new page in his notepad, and Ellie stared intently at Regan. Casey concentrated on understanding Regan's words and soon became lost in the prince's voice and his story. Sharp, biting icicles flashed by Regan's head, barely grazing his dark brown hair. They splintered against the cave wall in a brilliant array of red, blue, and yellow sparks. "What be the matter, Regan?" Ramsay shouted, spit spraying from his mouth. "Can I give you a hand?" He flung a second batch of deathly water picks toward Regan's stony glare. Regan swung to his side, deflecting the stabbing ice rods with his heavy black sword. "Ye won't get away with this, uncle. Others be coming to help me." "Aye, but nephew," Ramsay sneered, "it is just ye and I in these cold cave. Nobody will be looking for ye, Howard. Not even my weak brother, your father, can help now." Regan winced at the mention of his father. "Uncle, this be your last warning. Surrender and thy folk will have mercy on ye." Regan twisted his sword above his head, his jeweled chestplate glinting from the light shimmering off the ice crystals embedded in the cave walls. Lowering his sharp chin, Ramsay kept his steely grey eyes raised upon Regan. "What do you know? Ye barely of age, ye foolish boy. 16 years old has nae power over me." Lengths of Ramsay's straight black hair hung on either side of his drawn face like a dark veil, hiding his wickedness. "I'll be king. Make no mistake." Regan lunged at Ramsay like an exploding rocket. Ramsay streaked to the side and sent a burst of frozen spikes, pinning the edges of Regan's body armor to the jagged cave wall. Flashes of light flickered in Regan's vision, causing pain to his honey-golden flecked eyes. He shook his head to loosen the droplets of sweat that blanketed his brow while he struggled to pull his arms and legs from the rock. Ramsay let out a shrieking laughter. "Ha ha ha! It be nae use, boy. Those solid picks have ye locked in place as my spell takes hold. Ye'll remain thou for eternity, and I'll take my rightful place." Stiffness overcame Regan's body, and his eyelids became as heavy as the unbreakable rock he was becoming encased in. Murkiness shrouded his mind when he caught the reflection of his mother in the slick ice wall, her arms raised above her head. "Save me, mother!" he pleaded in silence. Regan's eyes surrendered to the hazy mist floating in his pupils. He drifted into absolute darkness. His heart ached. "Why didn't she save me?" Silence filled the cave. Casey didn't know what to say. "I hope Felix has the right words. I don't want to say the wrong thing." "That's an incredible story," Felix said. "I'm really sorry this happened to you." Ellie rose and moved closer to the keeper. "Yeah, what a horrible thing. Where's your father now?" Grains of sand glided down Regan's cheeks again. "He be dead. My Uncle Ramsay, eldest brother to my father, killed my father so he could take over as kin. I believe my mother helped Ramsay." "What makes you think that?" Ellie asked. "Because the last thing I saw was her arms raised, producing her own spells in which to keep me trapped." "Why would she help your father's brother?" Casey asked. "Mother and father quite often disagreed on how the kingdom should be run. There were many late nights of arguing. Father wanted to decrease the amount of taxes paid by the folk, while mother demanded more money frae them." Regan snorted in disgust. "Mother and I always been greedy. It'd be frae the time my father's brother arrived to the kingdom that mother been conspiring with him. They wanted to become richer and richer at the cost of our loyal subjects." "I think I understood all of that," Casey said, or at least most of the words. "Who were the McBuckles?" Casey had never heard his family speak of them. "No way am I related to this Scottish clan. The last name was just a coincidence." "Aye," Regan's voice became thoughtful. "The McBuckles clan is the royal guard to the king and queen. They are responsible for protecting the royal ilk. I had oversight of the royal guard." His eyes fell to the ground. "However, I failed to discover the plot against father, and now he's gone. I'll never have the chance to ask his forgiveness." Casey's heart lurched. "I do have my dad. I should have asked him to forgive me for saying such a mean thing to him before camp." He cleared his throat. "How do you know I'm related to the McBuckles clan?" "The Foreseers, of course." "The what?" "The Foreseers," Regan explained, "are magical folk within our city who can see the future. They write these futures in scripts called foreseeings. One ancient foreseeing, called the Saver's Foreseeing, speaks of a wee member of the McBuckles clan and known as the Saver. The Savior comes to save the city of Shushan from evil rule.
Good job. Here.
Great.
I understood it
Great
more
accent.
hearing you read it than trying to read it.
Well, thank you. I was listening to James McAvoy interviews and Craig
Well, that
Ferguson.
may be a criticism, because this is for middle school kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'll be doing audio tape.
I understand that, they would come with the book, right? You may want to just tone down the
Yes.
dialect a bit.
Yes.
We did.
Not how we
Oh, we
did.
did.
Because after hearing that, I want to play golf and have 2 inches of Jameson
Yeah.
by my side all the time.
James McAvoy.
Yeah. A few words here and there are enough to get to
Get
get.
the
the idea.
gist. Yes.
Oh, and I must have taken the authors so much to do other
Oh,
things
I'm
too.
sure.
Yes, we appreciate the
So-
effort.
You know,
Yeah.
it, it's great to be authentic, but on the other hand, this is fantasy. So you know, authenticity and fantasy needed. So
Yeah, if the reader has to stop and pull
yeah,
and
figure
go
it out.
back and read it, then you've broken the spell.
Right.
And it's not worth
Yeah.
doing that.
And I did
Oh.
have to
Well, it's
do
funny,
that.
with Mark Twain, you get that very heavy southern, and,
He does it well. He did it well.
but I have to stop and
Oh yeah.
rethink it.
Yes.
Figure it
So,
out as you go along.
universally, what you say is true, but some people can get away with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When this writer, this author gets to the stature of Mark Twain, then do whatever you want. But I think just to get started, you have to really kind of tone it down, make it
Well-
very palatable for everyone.
Yeah.
Right, but this isn't set in stone. You
Oh,
can tweak it,
that's
you can,
good.
I had to do that.
Yes,
too.
I know, I
You
know,
know,
it's
in
great.
bonus sports, you can tweak it, you can change it to make it your own, but keep it authentic to
Well,
you
and-
intended.
And then it breaks it up because then he has to explain what he's saying to the character, and that slows the story down
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
way
you just
too.
gotta I know you gotta kill your darlings. You gotta get rid of that.
Kill your darlings is a wonderful phrase. That's it.
This isn't a criticism or anything. It was just interesting to be, as an adult, reading this story, knowing that middle school kids are reading it. And when Casey said, why would she, page 5, halfway down, and she's saying, why would she, talking about the mother, why would she help your father's brother? And like in my head, I'm thinking, oh, she's screwing him.
Oh!
And I'm like, oh, you can't, but you can't say that in a story. They're not supposed to say that.
They're having tea together for those of you who are middle grade.
Because I'm thinking of,
It's kind of Hamlet.
right, I was just going to say
Yes.
that. Yeah, so that's why I thought that, and I shouldn't say
But it's okay because 8 to 12-year-olds won't think that, so it's okay.
No,
It's
I
okay.
know
gosh,
that.
they
I
won't
know
do
that.
First of all, I want to say that I loved this.
Yeah.
So, I do have some critiques, but they're so minor things. The big thing was the dialect with Regan, but I loved the premise, I loved the setting, and I thought it was well written. The only thing that I would say, and I only say this because I'm writing a similar story, and what other people have said to me is that, you have the young hero prophesied to save the day, save the world, save the kingdom. And it's been done a lot, so it can become a cliche very easily. So you have to have something in here that makes your story unique. So how is your story different than all of those other ones? We're just getting an excerpt, so you know the answer to that. I don't, but you just have to be able to, and you're going to have to be able to express that in your query letter if publication is your goal. So just kind of keep that in mind. But
Yeah, just the
But I did love it.
transitions,
Right.
yeah.
from present to past,
Yeah.
then back to present.
Yes.
Yeah.
You really have to nail that, or else teachers of writers who I've witnessed say it's not the where you are in the story that's difficult; it's the when you are.
Ah.
If you're doing back and forth,
Yeah.
you have to hit people over the head that you're going. We're leaving now,
Yes.
and we're going to level 4, and now we're going back to level 5. You have to just
You
lead
have to
people
really set
around.
the scene.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
do. You really
Right,
do.
so when Reagan or Regan, I don't know how we pronounce it here, but
Reagan?
when the prince tells
Well
the
said.
kids about what happened to put him into the stone, then that's when you want to have a really good transition. It was
Yes.
there was really no
Put it in
transition at all.
context.
Wait, and I
And,
think that
and
should
also, I'm sorry, and also, when you did that, you went totally into Reagan's point of view. You switched away from Casey, so if you want to do that, you have to make it really, really clear. I had a couple of other things too, and again, a little bit was difficult, and overall, first of all, I should say, I really like this a lot. I think you have a really good premise. I would definitely read more, and you have a lot of really good, interesting things going on here. So keep that in mind when I say this. But when they first walked in, you know, I'm picturing this as a movie. You've got these 3 kids in a cave, and they see this, all of a sudden this face is talking on the wall. And I cannot see that Casey is just looking at this space and not at all reacting with his friends. I really see it as, you know, you want to know what they're doing too, like how are his friends reacting, and are they looking at each other, are they nudging at each other saying, come on, get out of here, what is that? Or whatever it is that they're saying. I see no real interaction with the kids and how they're reacting to this. So I think that you need that. Now, in terms of critiquing, this is where it can get difficult because you've already introduced us to Casey and Felix and Ellie earlier. So the picture's already there and we haven't seen it yet, but I still feel like you need that interaction when that's happening. And then, I guess that's what I had. Oh, and the second thing was on page 3, when they're talking to him, that Casey says, do you get to see your family, you know, since being stuck in the rock? I really feel like the first question that should come out, maybe this is being picky, is how'd you get trapped there?
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
because they're kids. How did you get in that rock?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Not you want to do. You know, they're middle school. You know, I don't know if they care so much about missing your family at that point.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can keep the question, I guess, but that's not the first thing I think they would think of.
and it could be that I think family might be part of the theme of this, which is why you went there, and I get that, because in the end, you kind of focus on Casey and the dad. So I get that that's the theme, but I agree with you that that might not be where it comes in. The other thing too is that they ask him, you know, what happened to your father? And he says, well, he's dead. My uncle killed him. Well, how does he know that? He's been trapped in the rock. He doesn't know if his uncle was even successful. So just some inconsistencies there. Like Reagan wouldn't know if his uncle was successful, and not to mention he's been there 100 years. All those people are dead, unless in this world people lived hundreds of years.
Right.
Which they may, which we don't know yet because
It could be the talk
So-
everlasting of a cave.
It could. My daughter
I
said
agree
that.
with, I'm gonna go home and still talk like this. I agree with what Sue said on a lot of points. That's a beautiful thing. But I thought the story should be my brother, my father, my uncle. I said this, not Ramsey said, and Reagan said. I was a little thrown by that. Or there could be a book somewhere and the kids read it. It was so removed, it wasn't really Reagan telling his story. And the segue to the story, segue out of the story, needs to be tweaked to make it stronger so we know that there's a shift there. Speaking of shifts, and I noticed point of view, and one of you was all over point of view, and I'm surprised you didn't bring this up before. The first paragraph has third person point of view. Casey clambered, beautiful verb, by the way, you get a check for that. I just said I'm listening. Who's there? He flicked his flashlight. And then, second paragraph, third paragraph, Casey jumped back, no way. Then it says, I'm imagining this, I must be.
No,
So
but
even
that's
if he
okay.
thought that,
Yes.
he thought that, he wondered, I threw things in so you can keep your wording just shifted a little bit.
Yeah, I think you want to
Italicize.
Italicize is beautiful,
Both thoughts.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yep. And to Sue's point of Ellie and Felix, I think Casey should yell, hey guys, are you seeing what I'm hearing? Seeing and hearing what I am?
Yeah.
He should relate to them if he can't look back, although I think he would have time to glance over his shoulder.
Holy crap.
And I wrote, holy crap. And I wrote at the end, this has promise. I have 2 boys who would love this. They love dragons, they love adventure, they love fantasy. They would be so into this. I started reading this to them last night, and the accent threw them. But I want more interaction among the kids. We really want them to have more dialogue, to interact, to respond, to react to this stone face, which is so very clever. You described it well, the chiseled face in the rock.
Yeah, there's a good sentence here on page 2. Regan nodded, sending a small shower of pebbles
Yes.
and dust
Yeah.
testing his face.
Yes.
That was really good.
I like that too, and to that point, on the first page, it says the eyes of the face seem to soften inside their rocky sockets, and I thought, this is again where Rosé's thesaurus, or Webster's thesaurus comes into play. I would say stone sockets. You might want to find some synonyms for some of these words so that they're more powerful and they're more appropriate, because rocky sounds jarring.
I also liked on page 6, the crevices in his forehead deepened like the trenches of a dry riverbed.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I thought the description was terrific, and I agree with everything that people have been saying here. I would have some suggestions about the names. I would change the name Reagan. You might not know this, but there's a former president who was named Reagan, and I think people might get confused with that.
Wait, wasn't he an actor too?
He was,
Okay.
Very good.
Those are the same people?
Hey kids, they really were.
They're still working
Oh,
on that.
Jeez.
The other thing is to call the place Shoshone, I don't think is a good idea, because that's a Native American tribe. And I
Yes,
doubt if it's in,
they didn't mesh.
Scotland.
Yes.
so I would pick a different name for Reagan and a different name for the place where they're in. But really good description.
I have a question, probably for Ed. When you're looking at the summary, and actually this is important because the summary becomes part of your query letter. It's the most important thing that you can write when you're sending a query out to agents if that's what you plan to do. So I just had a couple questions. He must complete 3 challenges based on the 3 elements of water. It's more
It's
phases,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. I don't know if you can use that with middle schoolers if they know phases.
Well, they can learn.
Oh, yeah, no, my
Yeah.
kids learned
Do they?
it in 5th,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's
yeah.
what it is.
Good.
It's
And
phases.
then when we're talking about, he must complete 3 challenges based on the 3 phases of water to save the keeper. A Scottish prince magically encased within the cave rock. I almost don't know if, I got confused when I read only his face and I had to read it 3 times, and even then
Yeah, I would take that.
I would just take it out. I didn't
Yes.
think it needed it.
Yes.
So,
Good point.
just,
Plus, if you're going to stick in phases, you want to take out phases.
And he said,
Right.
speaking of the face in the cave wall, I'm wondering how they came to this cave. It's probably in the previous
Yeah,
sections, and I'm curious. Did they intend to be here? Did they trip upon it? And here they are. Ellie says, "Hi, I'm Ellie." Thought that was just a little too forthcoming, sheepish. And in the very first paragraph, it threw me that Casey says, "You." Again, I'm reading this. I have to know how to read it. I wasn't really sure. Is it accusing? Is he frightened? Is there recognition in that you? I'm not sure. So if you could explain with an attribution. Casey said frightened, or Casey accused, or Casey.
well, that's why we
Recognize.
also see how the kids are interacting
Yes.
with each other, whether they're backing up or
Yes.
going. And plus, when we're talking about Ellie and what she would say, maybe she is very forthcoming. We
Yes,
don't
no,
know
that's
that
true.
early on in the book.
One thing I'd say is just from a word use. So on page 4, when you're describing the battle between Reagan and Ramsey, you say Reagan lunged at Ramsey like an exploding rocket. So I get the sense that the setting of this is somewhat medieval, and rocket is a very futuristic term. So I wouldn't use the word rocket. I would use a metaphor that is more in keeping with that era. Even though I understand it's a fictional world, but still rocket is a little too futuristic. And then
Catapult.
something,
Oh,
yeah, something like that. And then on the last page, when you kind of go into him thinking about his father, he says, and I don't have my dad. I should have asked him to forgive me for saying such a mean thing to him before camp, which is a fantastic way of just weaving in.
Yep.
You don't go into too much backstory. You don't slow the story down. It's a fleeting thought in his head, which I think is great. But you want to just make sure that you somehow mirror Reagan's issues with his father and Casey's issues with his father.
Parallel.
Yeah, so, and that will just deepen the theme, because Reagan thinks that he let his father down. Here, Casey says that he just said something mean. So maybe you should add to the fact that maybe Casey felt he let his father down, and mirror that, as opposed to just saying something mean. So just
If I could bring you back to page 4 in the middle, a beautiful phrase. I gave you a check plus for this. In the lowering his sharp chin paragraph, lengths of Ramsey's straight black hair hung on either side of his drawn face like a dark veil hiding his wickedness.
Yeah, that
it's
was
a
good.
beautiful
Very good.
image.
Yeah, that was
Really
good.
well done. If there's more of that and the description of
Love
the
it.
stony face, you could really go far.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I usually don't like fantasy.
We've heard that.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before. I like this, and I must be the perfect fantasy reader, because I don't care about the characters and I don't care about the subtleties. It's the story, the adventure part of it that really carries me through. And this did. We didn't get involved with the nudging and what this person said and how this went and the reactions of, I don't care about any of that. I'm interested in, they have to go from here to there. And that's what I want to find out. I resist often reading the last chapter, so I find out if they did get there. But the adventure part for me is they're going to hear, they're talking to this face on the wall. They get a little bit of backstory on how he got there. That's great. I don't care about it. I mean, other people have concerns beyond mine. I'm in for the ride. Take me there, and I'm happy. So I totally enjoyed this. I wouldn't bog it down with all the subtleties and we said this. So once again, I agree with all of you.
I'm gonna fall off my chair. Wow.
No, I don't. That's
I know. Sarcasm.
Okay, are we good?
I'm done.
So, in summary, Dave said don't change anything, except the transition.
The transition, very
The
important.
transition is very important when you went to that story about what had happened to Reagan, or if you rename Reagan. And what else am I missing?
Tone down the lane.
Oh,
The
yeah, I just want to
dialect.
thank you, the dialect. To make it a little bit easier to read, because when Julie read it, I was good.
Yeah, but you had already read it once too, so you had already got back and read it a couple times. So
I
you knew the
still,
story.
but I still had a hard phrase. But great job. We would all continue reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would-
Yes.
Wonderful story.
I want to see the beginning. I wanna-
Yes.
Yes, we do. So if you feel like sending it along, let us know.
I want to see the first chapter.
So send the first chapter. We'd love to see it. So thank you for submitting. This has been really great reading this, and thank you everyone else for joining us today. And we'll see you on the next episode of Writers Infusion. Keep writing. It's good.
So, yeah,
It's
this
good.
is awesome.
Yes.
It's fun to have, it's so rare for me to have an entire piece where I have very little negative to say.
I know. I almost don't recognize you.
I know it, I feel funny, I'm uncomfortable with it.
I wanted the flashlights to have more play here, to be focused on his face, or searching the ground, or illuminating the kids when they're sitting and listening to his story, or when they're discovering him. I was really thrown by that. What's creating light? There were torches that went on, right?
That's right.
So the thing is, we might
Automatic.
find all of that
Absolutely.
in the previous.
Well, that's why I did
That's
bring
why
it
we
up.
don't know.
Yes.
It's a Nancy Drew kind of thing.
It is.
Yeah, what's
On the wall.
that
Episode
movie with Harrison Ford where he goes into snakes and
Oh, Indiana
It's
Jones.
great.
That's what this reminds me of.
It's one of the best movies
Yeah.
ever?
Yes.
Ever. I've seen it
Ever.
50 times.
My wife can't watch it because it's got snakes in it.
No.
Oh.
Cannot watch, she won't even voluntarily look at a picture of a snake.
Oh my
If
gosh.
there's-
Yeah, she had a terrible experience when she was younger.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll
Do
do it.
it. But that's backstory.
I don't want to bother you.
Okay.
See, you notice I stopped.